I had some really good things going, but I never got that big hit that transitions you from road musician to star. My whole premise and what I tried to do was to be honest with these artists and give them the information that I wanted to be given when I was trying to be an artist. I'm Tony Mantor. I'm from a little town in Maine. It's called Madison, Maine. I did my music there until it worked out where I had been going back and forth to Nashville for several years, and then it just worked out with the producers I was working with that they kind of thought that I should be down here getting behind the scenes and doing more production development. So I made the move, and now I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. Been here for 28 years. I started playing music when I was about 8 years old. We had an old piano that sat in the living room, and my mother saw that I was having fun with it, so she decided to give me piano lessons. So I went to a piano teacher and started learning how to play, and from there it just developed into something that I really liked. And I was classically trained at first, and then so I was doing Beethoven, Chopin, Mozart, and then as I got older, the pop side and the rock side came out, and I started learning that kind of music. And overall, I just love all kinds of music because I've been trained classically. I was able to listen to different styles of music and appreciate what it was and how they did it, and it just grew from there. I just lucked across these group of guys that performed every week and needed a piano player. So I joined the band, and then eventually I started singing in the band and started developing into the lead singer. And I worked with them for a few years, and then I had a chance to go to Nashville and kind of see what it was like because it was completely different than New York or LA, the music scene. And went down there and I just loved the atmosphere. Very laid back, great musicians, great atmosphere within the studio. And I started going back and forth and just started developing from there. When I joined the band out of high school, they were just very happy doing weekends and special events. And once I started getting into it and really liking what we were doing, I wanted more. I wanted to be able to travel and see what I could do and see if I could develop myself into a performer that could make a living with music. A lot of people thought I was foolish. They thought it was a pipe dream, and I just didn't listen to them. I kept going, and I traveled across the country, up and down the coast, performing. And then when I was in Nashville, I wound up in a studio, and a producer saw me and liked what I was doing. And then I was introduced to Ronnie McDowell at the time. So I did a short tour with him um, to develop and learn more about the road. And then after that was done, I left and went back onto my solo career and kept developing from there. It was quite interesting, actually. Um, I was a pop singer, and I really didn't pay too much attention to country. I mean, because I knew, the greats, Johnny Cash and all Hank Williams and all those names, but I really wasn't a huge fan of country. So how I came to come to Nashville was I had some friends of mine that did not have transportation, and they were songwriters, and they asked me if I would take them down to Nashville. And so I did. And when I got here, it was much better than I expected. The people were really nice, the atmosphere was really good, And they found a publishing company that actually wanted to record some of their songs. So we went into the studio to record it, and the piano player didn't show up, so I wound up sitting in. And then the producer knew Ronnie McDowell and his manager, and he asked me if I'd be willing to talk to Ronnie McDowell. And my first question was, who is that? Because I wasn't a fan of country. I didn't know who Ronnie was, and because this was before he became a star. It was right before Elvis died. So I went over to um, Ronnie's manager's office, and we started talking, and he told me what he needed. And so I decided that I would do it because Ronnie was a big Elvis fan. I was a big Elvis fan, and he performed a lot of Elvis songs, so I knew them. And I sang uh, backgrounds for him, and I played piano, and I became band leader. And so I helped him out on a short tour. And then after it was all said and done, I I just didn't want to be a side musician for someone. I decided I still wanted to pursue my solo career. So I went on the road and started working on my solo career to see what I could develop for myself. I started right after Ronnie, doing productions, traveling back and forth to Nashville, recording songs. And then I came across an independent record label that released some of my singles to radio. And ultimately, the irony of music is I wasn't a big, huge country fan, but because music had changed so dramatically, I became country when I really wasn't country. So we put out this music, and it did really well across the country, and I hit some charts and national charts, and I got into the top 50 of Cashbox, and I had some really good things going, but I never got that big hit that transitions you from road musician to star. I had some notability, and people knew who I was, but I just wasn't quite able to get that big hit record. So the people that I was working with knew that I loved music, and I asked them a lot of questions when I was going to the studio. So they both told me that I needed to move to Nashville because they was getting ready to retire and do what they do, which was pretty much production development. So I had to really give it some soul searching to, do I want to give up pursuing my solo career and go behind the scenes? But ultimately, I felt that was the best choice because I was hoping to get some longevity out of the music business if I wasn't going to be that star solo performer. So I wound up moving to Nashville. Plateau Music was a dream of mine in 1991, but I never used it. In 93, when I moved to Nashville, I decided that I need to have a name for my production development company. So I made Plateau Music a production development company for singers, up and coming singers, and songwriters, so that we could do demos and pitch them to the stars and publishers, and see if we couldn't help other people doing what I was trying to do get where they wanted to go and develop their careers. Plateau Music became my production development company in 1993, and I pretty much took myself off the road, um, and I stopped performing, and I put myself and immersed myself into meeting up and coming singers that needed development, needed guidance in how to get their music to be competitive so that the labels would give them an opportunity. My whole situation that I presented to myself and to the people was, take something and give them opportunities. Because in the music business, as in anything in life, there are no promises, there's no guarantees, there's nobody that can tell you where you're going to wind up. But if you have the very best product, you have the very best songs that you can have, you've got a great production, you've got a great vocal, you've got all the ingredients put together so that it competes on the national and worldwide stage, it gives a singer an opportunity to get more shows and sell some product, and then hopefully get some recognition from the labels to where they could sign and get a deal. So that was kind of the development process that Plateau Music took in starting as a just a production development to actually pitching some of these artists to labels and publishers to try and help them get their deals. Plateau Music gave me the opportunity to meet new singers, work within the music industry of Nashville, work with major label A&R people, uh, major publishers. It gave me all those pipelines to people that the average person wouldn't get coming into Nashville because they don't have any recognition or they don't have the knowledge of who they are and they don't have the relationships. So over those first few years of Plateau Music being just production development, it allowed me to work with singers and songwriters, developing them, getting them opportunities, and creating relationships within the music industry in Nashville to build those relationships to hopefully getting them to the point of where they would at least listen to any project that I brought them. So there was one time Atlantic Records was was looking for a female artist, but I had a male artist I was working with. I called him up and told him that I'd like to pitch him a male artist, and he told me that he was overloaded with male artists, and I told him thank you. Well, 15 minutes later, he calls back and he says, you've got such great productions, and I don't want to be the person that turns down a project that you might bring to somebody else. I want to at least listen to it. So that was my goal. If I could get something listened to, really listen to, not just 5 or 10 seconds, but them listening to the whole song. And then even if they turned it down, at least that singer that I brought to them had an opportunity to be in front of a label that could potentially sign them. So that was my goals in the first few years of Plateau Music. 2005 gave me a tremendous amount of opportunities. I was working with some singers and developing them. And then I had this one singer that came to me that had a real shine in what she did. And we needed to do something quicker than what some of these major labels took to put their artists out once they signed them. So we did a lot of soul searching and wound up thinking that Plateau Music needed to expand and become an independent record label. So because I had relationships in Nashville, because I knew a lot of people, I knew the promoters, I knew PR people. There was a lot of people that I knew that could help me get this to radio and get some promotion. So I released in the fall of 2005. I released my first single to radio under the Plateau Music record label, and from there it got good response, and then we released another one and that got better response, and we kept releasing songs, and it wasn't too long before I had the singer that I was working with became the top independent female singer in the country market for that year, and we were really growing. And then from there it just kept expanding with more artists coming and kept building, and it worked out quite well. 2005, we just kept growing, and then in 2012, it was Plateau Music was doing really well. We were getting all kinds of inquiries around the country. And then I had an artist come to me that needed more than just production development and a label. He needed guidance in how to get his career out there and get it going. So we again, I sat back and just gave it a whole lot of thought of what I wanted to do, and do I want to expand into this, because when you get into management, that's another whole different world, because that's night calls, weekend calls, negotiating deals for shows, uh, guiding the artist not to do things, don't do this, do this. Um, so it was a whole different level of things that I needed to think about, and did I want to take and jump into that pool and do this? So ultimately, I decided to, and from that point, it just started growing, and the business started growing. A lot of shows started coming in, and so we had the record label going good, we had radio going good, and then we just kept expanding, and we started really watching over artists and trying to guide them to make the right decisions in their life. My main focus was, there's a lot of people all around the world in this business that will tell singers and songwriters everything they want to hear, when the reality is it's not going to happen that way. So my whole premise and what I tried to do was to be honest with these artists and give them the information that I wanted to be given when I was trying to be an artist. So I wanted to be everything that I was looking for when I was an artist to the artist I was working with. So I gave them some hardline comments. I would tell them what they needed to hear rather than what they wanted to hear. So I really wanted to make sure that they made the right choices, uh, and the right choices go from style, performance style, recording, uh, image. All those things are part of the pieces of the puzzle that, when you put it together, make a full picture that gives that artist more opportunities. So I wanted to make sure that when they made a choice of doing something with their career, that it was the correct one, so that to give them an opportunity to succeed. So when I would interview an artist and talk with them, I would tell them, this has to be a good fit. I have to like you, you have to like me, we have to have the same goals. You have to be able to understand that not everything's going to be easy, and you've got to work as hard as I'm willing to work, and then you have a chance. But there's no guarantee you're going to be successful, but you have the chance to be successful. Overnight successes are, they don't exist. Overnight successes are usually 10, 15 years in the business of learning, making your mistakes, correcting your mistakes, moving forward. So what I'm trying to do is give them the knowledge that I've accumulated over the years, so that they don't have to take and worry about making all those mistakes, because I'm not going to let them make those mistakes. So that way we're all on the same page, we've got the same goal, and we're very focused on where we want to be. So I'm very selective with the artists that I work with, because it has to be a good match, otherwise it won't work. The process of management now has changed dramatically, because we've got so many different things that we didn't have back then. You've got YouTube, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, you've got all the social media, then you've got videos platforms, you've got so many things that can help an artist, but they also can hurt an artist, because you can't believe everything that's said about you, because it's if it's good, you're probably not as good as they're making it out to be. If it's bad, you're probably not as bad as what they're making it out to be, because somewhere in the middle is the reality of where you are. So with all the platforms, Spotify and all that's changed and dramatically changed the way that this business is. It's changed so drastically that you have to really look from a management standpoint, from a production standpoint, and from a release standpoint on what you're going to do and how you're going to approach it. And if you don't have a real promotion going with somebody helping you and handling it, then you get lost in the shuffle because it's kind of iTunes and Spotify and all these other video platforms and music platforms are all like um, places that you'd go to buy clothes or buy anything. Advertising in music is radio, uh, social media, putting it out there to drive those people so that they're going to iTunes to download the song, or they're going to iTunes to buy the album, or they're going to your website to buy the album. There are just so many different things that an artist has to be aware of. And if you're not, you're kind of going to get lost. So I try and make sure that the artist is grounded and we kind of really know exactly where we're headed so that it really truly makes sense to give them opportunities to where they can see that they're developing and things are growing and things are getting better and they've got a future. I've been very fortunate. My reputation has grown around the world and here in the country, and so I've been able to really work with a lot of great artists. Um, I've been in and around a lot of stars that everybody would know immediately, not as production, but through doing shows with them and being part of the shows. And then I've had my production of people like I produced and managed Jackie Wilson's son Bobby for 8 years. I'm working with Glenn Campbell's daughter Debbie Campbell. Um, I've recently, within the last year or so, started work. If people remember Happy Days, I'm working with Donnie Most, which was Ralph Mouth. Um, Back in the late '90s, there was a singer-songwriter by the name of Mila Mason that had huge hit records on Atlantic, and I produced and managed her for a while. Plus, I've had good up-and-coming singers like Sam Austin that's doing well, and then a pop singer out of LA, Eris Weathersby. So I've been able to mix really good up-and-coming singers with some very established people, and I've been very fortunate. Over the last 10 years, I've been thinking about doing a CD for myself. I recorded a couple songs 10 years ago just to have some fun. And then I got really busy and put it on the shelf and started working on my singers that I needed to do because I had to keep them out there. Um, then the pandemic hit, and some friends of mine called me up and said, we don't have anything to do because, needless to say, we're not performing, we're not traveling. Might as well start working on your CD again. And the whole idea of that was back when I was doing my own music and I was traveling across the country and releasing records and doing all that. I never really had that one full album that I did that I was happy with. I was satisfied with the production. They did a great job for the time, and it competed, but I could listen to myself and I was never satisfied with my vocal. So I've always said I'm going to take at some point in time do a CD where I can listen from song 1 to song 12, sit back, listen to it, and at the end of it say, I'm satisfied with what I did. And so I started working on that last year. Well, I think it was right around April, somewhere around there. I got this song in called "Why Not Me," and it. I listened to it, and I said, "Man, this song is me." It's like it's about never giving up on your dreams because I'm always telling people, hey, look, you're never too old. Uh, you're never too anything unless you think you are. So don't give up. Keep trying, because you never know what will happen. And if the worst case is never happens, you had some fun with it. You did what you wanted to do. So I heard this song, and I said, man, I got to do this song. So then I recorded it, I finished it, listened to it, I was happy with it. And then my radio promoters that I work with, they knew I was working on my own project, and they called me up, and we were talking one day, and they said, "Man, we want to hear what you're doing." And I said, "Well, okay, I'll send you the song I just finished. I really like it." So I sent it, and my country people told me, "You got to release this song." My pop promoters told me, "You got to release this song." My UK promoter said, "You got to release this song," and I told them they all were nuts, because I'm just doing this for the fun of it. I didn't do it to release it, and everybody said there's nothing out there like it right now. It's very positive. It's just got a great vibe to it. So I decided that if I was going to do something, that I wanted to take and help somebody somehow. So I had done a project here about 3 years ago for a fallen police officer, where we did a CD and raised money for his wife. And so I called up some of the people that I've met on that project, and just and I say, "Hey, can you help me out here? I want to do a video. I want to take and maybe bring some more attention to our first responders, and what their needs are." And all of a sudden, I started getting um, I started getting videos and pictures from first responders all over the country that wanted to be part of it. So I started getting so much stuff, so that I had to really pick and choose. So I told the songwriter on this, I said, when I'm finished with this song, you are going to have a song that when people hear the song, they're going to hear the positivity in it. But when they see the video, they're going to think that you wrote the song just for first responders, because I was able to get perfect pictures and videos that fit the lines, and we put it all together, and it came out, and it did really well. I wound up getting a lot of interviews in the UK and parts of Europe, and it really, really went well. Our goal was to put as much exposure out there we could for first responders, give them every bit of opportunity to get the pat on the back that they deservedly need, and then hopefully people would feel the needs to go out and donate to the charities to help them. And I'm very humbled by this, that I've had several requests from different radio stations around the UK if there was going to be another single coming. So we're going to take and release another single. I've got a special guest that's going to come in and do a duet song with me on it that will surprise a few people. It's kind of interesting how the circle has gone for me personally, from back in the early days of on the road, and promoting myself as a singer songwriter, and trying to do the shows, to going behind the scenes and becoming a developer, producer, and record label manager. And now I'm back doing some of the things I started out doing, but it's for fun. I mean, I'm not out there trying to have a number one hit record. I'm out there to have some fun, enjoy the music, because ultimately, what the bottom line is, that everybody starts out with, is their love for the music. So I always tell people, never let the business override the enjoyment of the music. So that's kind of what this CD is doing for me. It's giving me a kind of a breath of fresh air, and that I'm doing something for the fun of it, for the pure enjoyment of music. And then my plateau music side, I just keep doing what I do. I've got when this pandemic is hopefully over, I've got to finish up Donnie's project. I'm working on Eris's material. I've got uh, I've got a girl from the UK that's coming over that I'm going to be producing. I've got several different other projects that we're talking about doing, that can be have some fun and enjoyment to it. So I'm trying to enjoy as much as I can, and just keep building and see where it leads me around the next bend.